Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Zachary Dickinson here, and I hope you all had a wonderful week and hope the weekend started off nice. It is Saturday. And so in today's video, this is book review or book talk Saturdays. So on Saturdays we talk about books. So today we'll be talking about the Star Wars Alphabet Squadron Trilogy, or as I like to call it, the Star Wars Mental Health Trilogy, because that's what it is. Okay, and so we'll be discussing three parts of this. We'll be discussing the whole trilogy in and of itself, but we'll be discussing three main things. At what point does it take place in the timeline, so that you know? Why is it called Alphabet Squadron? And how does it include mental health at all? So, let's break those down, and let's get into it. Alright, so at what point in the timeline does Alphabet Squadron take place? Well, overall, Alphabet Squadron is one of the two Star Wars trilogies that was released in the late 2010s and early 2020s of like 2019 to like 2021, maybe 2022, where we follow a set of individuals, the other being the Aftermath trilogy. We follow a set of individuals where it is from a little bit after Return of the Jedi, the finale of the original trilogy, or the finale of the first 6 Star Wars films. And so it takes place roughly 5 to 10 years after Return of the Jedi. So roughly a little bit before or right around Mandalorian Season 1. And so this is dealing with the Imperial Remnant. And so a lot of the trilogy takes place around the same time span. The end, the exact end of the trilogy does take place a little bit further down because it takes place at the Battle of Jakku, which is the definitive end of the Empire. Except for the sequel trilogy, that is not canon. So that is where it takes place. It takes place in a New Republic that is within the first 10 years of being the New Republic. And they're trying to fight off the Imperial Remnant and trying to get rid of it once and for all. So now, pretty much the self-explanatory part. But why is it called Alphabet Squadron? Well, it's called Alphabet Squadron because within the New Republic ranks, and the like commander-esque kind of thing is Harrison Dula from Star Wars Rebels. This is about the only book series, I think, where Harris in it definitively for a decent span. But it's called Alphabet Squadron because, as you may have guessed, it includes different fighter pilots of the different alphabet letters that they used in the rebellion. They have Y-wing, an A-wing, a B-wing, an X-wing, and like a few other, and like maybe even a Z-wing or something like that. It's roughly like 5 or so, and then a few come in here, but it really is basically one fighter pilot, one X-wing or something like that, of each letter that they can muster up and that they've created. And so that is why it's called the Alphabet Squadron, because each of them are unique, and it's just a ensemble of different fighter pilots coming together because, well, the Empire wiped out most of the other squadrons. Alright, and so, finally, why do I call it the Mental Health Trilogy? Well, that is because, in a nutshell, it very much has a large focus on mental health, and that is a decent chunk of the book. Whenever it's not doing any story progression or progressing the various characters to where they... No. Mostly just like the story progression, or whenever it's not action heavy, it's mostly them sitting down, talking over about how they basically have PTSD or some of the other types of mental health problems because of the rebellion war, because of the Empire, because of the rebellion, both. So that is why I like to call it the Mental Health Trilogy, because all throughout, even during some of the action and right after a lot of the action, they go drink and talk about their feelings and talk about mental health. So They talk about mental health a lot in it in their own respective ways, with how former military kind of like talk about mental health in their own way. All right, so now the final part. Do I recommend you reading this trilogy? Well, it is first, like this video if you've liked it, subscribe for future videos, and comment below something you liked or didn't like about this video. Let's get the conversation rolling. I'm more than welcome to answer any of your comments and to see what you think about this video. So, do I recommend this? Yes, I do, but you have to read the whole trilogy to get everything. If you stop after the second book, you will get pissed and you won't understand it all fully. If you wait and read through the third book, like I did, then you'll be more understanding of what happens at the end of the second book. It's a good trilogy, not the best trilogy I've ever read, not the best Star Wars trilogy I've ever read, but it is still a good trilogy. However, the only warning I will say is sometimes towards the middle or about 3/4 of the way in the book, it starts to get very slow because it's getting ready to build up to the main final point in the book or the next big action thing, and so it can get slow. That is my one warning. Because I did have trouble reading through parts of the books because it got very slow and monotonous through certain parts. So that would be my only warning. If you don't want to read a book that suddenly gets very slow for like a fourth of the book, then don't read it. If you're fine and want to give it a shot, read it. It's not my favorite, but it is still a very good trilogy in and of itself. All right, and so now we're at the end of this video. This is definitely the shortest video I've ever done so far, but I didn't have too much to talk about this, and I didn't want to go full negative or anything like that. I also wanted to go as spoiler free as possible, and I wanted to give myself a shot at doing that. These books have been out a few years, so I could do a spoiler ranting video sometime in the next couple of months. We'll see about that. Little update. As far as what I'm currently reading, I am still in the same two books that I've been in for the past few weeks. I am enjoying both very much, and I'm starting to get a lot more traction in reading them right now. Finding Jesus in the Old Testament is a phenomenal book by David Limbaum. I would recommend it. It is very densely based, which is why I love it. It is a book breaking down how to find Jesus within the Old Testament. It goes very hardcore in breaking it down. I'm almost to the part where he starts breaking it down by the book in the Bible, in the Old Testament part of the Bible. And so the other part is The Lord of the Rings. I am reading the book where it's the full big book, all in paperback, or technically hardcover, or whatever. But it's the full, all three books, and it's then split into where each individual book is two books. And so I'm in the first part of the Fellowship of the Ring, and I just started kind of hitting a new gear, sort of, in it, and I've started to read it a little bit faster, and I'm getting into it more. I am at about 145 on it, or something like that, and so I'm getting close to the end of the first half of the Fellowship of the Ring. And so it's going very well. I won't have what I read in February because I'm still reading the same two books that I started in early February. And so I'm also not doing what I watched in February because I also didn't watch much in February. I got a little bit busy and time got away from me. So we'll be doing a few different videos than that. And so I hope you've enjoyed. Again, like the video if you've liked it. Get it further out there. Subscribe to get notified. Monday, we'll be doing our deep dive about why the Infinity Saga is nearly perfect. On Wednesday, we'll be doing a video on, what is Wednesday's video on anyways? But next weekend will be another breakdown video. So, next Wednesday we'll be doing a video on Lincoln Lawyer Season 4. I've been wanting to get that each of the past 2 Fridays, but I haven't been able to sit down and gather the time for that. So we'll be doing a video on Lincoln Lawyer Season 4, the Lincoln Lawyer that I watched in about a 2 to 3 day span and mostly ruined my entire sleep schedule to finish. Then the next weekend video I'll be discussing my thoughts on all the different Lee Strobel books that I've read. And so, without any further ado, hope you like, subscribe, and comment to get this video further out there and become one of the first 10 subscribers. We're at 8, become one of the first 10. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you all have a wonderful and blessed day. Thank you all.